So there was a time when games felt a lot more personal, when you could sit on a game for hours just because the grind was that worth it, and when games were toxic but just the right amount of toxic to where they weren't considered unplayable, and when game studios actually cared about implementing features that their community loved because it was the right thing to do and not just to boost quarterly earnings. My name is Queso. I've been a gamer for over 25 years. I've owned just about every single console. I played a variety of genres, and now I'm founding my own gaming company called Player 3. Today, I'm going to break down what made the golden era of gaming special, why it's gone, and what we can do as a community to help bring that back. So just to name a few of my favorite games, you have the original Pokemons, Conker's Bad Fur Day, Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, RuneScape, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Battlefront 2. The list goes on and on and on. These were all games designed for immersion and not monetization loops. Each game was built to best serve the player's experience for that specific genre without the implementation of things like microtransactions, loot boxes, or intrusive ads. When you used to grind on these games, that grind felt real and rewarding. Think about playing RuneScape back in the day when you were just trying to get to level 60 or 70. That grind was real, believe me. Thinking back on it, I just have so much respect for it because it was completely worth it. But those days feel like they've been replaced with battle passes, cash shops, and whatever other bad corporate decision can ruin an entire studio and a gaming franchise. Now, I want to be very clear. I am not saying that all modern gaming is bad, but I am saying that it does feel like the heart of that initial game design process has faded away. And now it seems like there are only a few studios that we can depend on who can consistently deliver these experiences for us. And maybe a part of why that magic felt so strong and built up a ton of nostalgia was because they came from smaller, hungrier gaming studios. Teams that took bold risks because they thought that it would be fun for us as players. Teams that understood the lore of the games that they were building, as well as the feelings that they wanted us to experience in these worlds that they were building. They weren't just following a formula, they were experimenting. And the experiments weren't random, they were creative risks formed by hypothesis. They factored in what worked in the past, what will work now, and how can we innovate on this to make this a better experience for the players. It's that simple. So take Sonic Adventure 2, for example. That game implemented the Chao Garden, which was a completely optional side feature, but it became a fan favorite and a core memory for an entire generation. It wasn't a half thought out DLC add-on. It had depth and replayability, which is why fans still love it till this day. It was made by a smaller team of 11 within Sonic Team USA, and till this day, the Chao Garden still has an active community around it. Yet you fast forward to today, and fans are still requesting the sequel to this game, or at least the Chao Garden feature to be implemented in the future Sonic games over 25 years later. At this point, we'll be lucky to get the 5th kart racing game in the series. Or take Monster Rancher, for example. It was a game that came out on PlayStation 1 a couple of decades ago. This game was so bold that it literally allowed you to take out the disc mid-game, insert another random disc, and download a monster from that disc data to fight with in-game against your friends. It sounds so crazy to think that a game from 1997 innovated like that, and we haven't seen anything like that since. It wasn't just a mechanic, it made you curious about every CD that you own, just trying to see what monster you would get. It was innovative, it was risky, and it was unforgettable. Listen, this game came out in 1997 on PlayStation 1. Why are studios scared to take risks like this? And that's the part that I feel is missing the most, is the creative risk. Back then, it felt that risk wasn't just about budget, but it was about challenging yourself to make something different, make something unique, and make something that may not appeal to everyone, but if it appealed to the right amount of players, then it meant everything to that game. It wasn't just about chasing trends or even outcompeting similar games in the genre. It was about asking yourself, what feature can we implement in this game to have players talking about it 10, 20, 30 years later? Sonic Adventure 2's Chao Garden was a unique feature that fans still love, but apparently no boardroom will greenlight today. Monster Rancher's CD swap was a creative gamble that people literally still talk about and remember from 1997. These mechanics didn't just add to the game, but they became the stories that we as players told for years to come. Somewhere along the way, studios got a lot bigger, a lot safer, and a lot more risk-averse. Now, innovation seems to have become an afterthought, replaced by best practices which seem to only measure short-term retention. And that's when that magic, that one-of-a-kind nostalgic feeling started fading away, was when these studios stopped caring about what we really cared about as players. So here's the thing. When you lose that willingness to take those creative risks as a studio, you also lose something else, and that's the trust and the connection between devs and players. Back in the day, there were no patch updates that you can push out to fix your game. Whatever you put on the shelf was what the players played. So that direct line between devs and players was about communicating beforehand, again, understanding the lore and building something that we actually wanted and having a shared vision. And again, in no way, shape, or form am I saying that pushing out a patch update is the wrong thing to do, especially in modern gaming whenever you have the technology to actually fix your game, which is actually a very good thing. I think the perfect example of that would be No Man's Sky by Hello Games. So No Man's Sky had somewhat of a rough launch, but since then they've continuously talked to their community, they've pushed out free updates, and they've built one of the greatest space exploration games that I can think of. There are other teams and games that have also done a great job at this as well, like Concerned Ape Stardew Valley or Larian Studios Baldur's Gate 3. That's the power of a dev-player relationship that prioritizes the experience over the metrics. The golden era wasn't rocket science. It was player-driven, creative risk, and studios that actually cared about their communities. While building my company, Player 3, I had the pleasure of speaking with hundreds of indie devs and studios, and one thing was common. They all made games that they themselves wanted to play as players. And that actually reminded me of a speech by Swin Vink from the 2024 Game Awards that I want to share with you because it means a lot to me, and I think that it means a lot more to gaming. The studio made their game because it was a game that they wanted to play themselves. They created it because it hadn't been created before. They didn't make it to increase market share. They didn't make it to serve the brand. They didn't have to meet arbitrary sales targets or fear being laid off. They didn't meet those targets. And furthermore, the people in charge forbade them from cramming the game with anything whose only purpose was to increase revenue and didn't serve the game design. They didn't treat their developers like numbers on a spreadsheet. They didn't treat their players as users to exploit. And they didn't make decisions they knew were short-sighted and function of bonus or politics. They knew that if they put their game and the team first, then revenue will follow. They were driven by idealism and wanted players to have fun, and they realized that if developers didn't have fun, then nobody was going to have fun. They understood the value of respect, that if they treated their developers and players well, those same developers and players would forgive them when things didn't go as planned. But above all, they cared about their game because they loved games. And it's really that simple. So it's important to know that while we can't go back in time, as the consumer, as gamers, we can choose to support the devs and the teams that still build with that same passion that we've been asking for. Comment your favorite Golden Era game below and let's keep this conversation alive. Or better yet, you can go share your thoughts about it on Player 3 to a community of devs. Who knows, maybe you could be the source of inspiration for the next great era of games. If you'd like to know more about Player 3, I've included the link to the platform in the description. And if you're a developer or gamer who wants to streamline content and updates, check out this video here on how to earn like the top 4% in gaming. Remember, Player 3 is free to use and ready to help build the next generation of gaming powered by gamers. I'll be sharing my journey of building Player 3 publicly on YouTube, so if you want to keep up with the latest features or updates, be sure to like, subscribe, and join the Discord. The link is in the description. Until next time, see you later.